And the reason we brought in this conversation actually is to actually just talk out and speak about the fact that what's across not just across Johannesburg, but also across the country has been a major challenge, whether it came through to water supply, water infrastructure challenges, water shortages. We've seen that due to limited rainfall in certain areas, but a majority of it has also been linked to the failure of infrastructure, water pipes leaking, and so on and so forth. And that's something that local government elections are going to hopefully in some way or form address. We have seen that both across the city of Johannesburg as well as the country, including multiple ones out in the Eastern Cape. And just in terms of context for this particular interview, in late July, President Cyril Ramaphosa revealed a five-pronged action plan to address water supply interruptions in municipalities across the country. This is the National Water Crisis Committee, also known as WaterCom, and it is chaired by the president as well. So perhaps to give us an insight of exactly where we are, what the plan is, where we are at the moment, and what the plan is going forward, what we will be seeing in the future. Let's bring it to the conversation, Dr. Ferrial Adam. Dr. Ferrial, thanks very much for your time this evening. It's greatly appreciated for your time here on Local Matters with Ahmed Kaji.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Ahmed, and thank you, and hi to all your viewers as well.
Dr. Ferrial, water seems to be a major challenge for many of the residents in Johannesburg and across the country. Where exactly do you see the situation now since the president has launched the WaterCom that he is currently chairing?
So I think it's still very much the same. I mean, I think it's still, I don't think that forming a water committee is going to actually solve the issues once the committee is formed. So I think we still have a lot of the challenges. We on a daily basis, we can see that Joburg water is struggling. There are areas that sometimes don't have water. But the other key thing is that when we got to the 1st of July, Joburg Water actually had no money in their account to do anything. So they didn't even have their depots, didn't have telecoms where they could phone teams to go out and do repairs. So I think that, it is in quite a situation, and it is still concerning.
Now, we have seen watershedding is some of the words which have been thrown across our society. Water cuts, in many situations, it's due to infrastructure maintenance, planned water outages. Is this perhaps a situation where the maintenance of infrastructure should have been done over the last 10 or 15 years to make sure that we never reach a situation such as this one?
Correct. I think that it's not only about making sure that there's consistent maintenance, but it's spending enough money on the maintenance. So if you advised, National Treasury and others advised that you should spend between 6 to 8% of the cost of the infrastructure on maintenance every year. But we haven't even been close to 1%. So you can imagine how deteriorated our systems are.
I guess that's the big challenge then that many political parties have raised, is that Auditor General reports come out every year and it shows the misallocation of funds, the mismanagement of funds. What hope do you normally have that these Auditor General reports would improve, so in some way or form we would see more investment in infrastructure maintenance, and to at least improve from that 1%, which I don't think would be very difficult to perhaps even go below that?
So I think one of the things we're realizing is it's not going to be one sector that's going to actually solve the water issues. And I think civil society has been very, very strong in lobbying and talking about ring fencing of budgets within municipalities for water and sanitation. And it's the same thing that we're saying here, that unless they ring fence that money and start actually spending it on an infrastructure, we are going to be in this situation and it will get worse. I do think that, just so you know, Johannesburg has finally moved towards ring fencing the water and sanitation budget so that Joburg Water has control of it. But we don't know how much of that budget they will have access to. We don't know whether it's 100% of ring fencing for water and sanitation or it's a percentage. We still need to get some of that information. Also, Joburg Water is starting on a back foot. So I think previously I spoke about the sweeping of funds from the Joburg Water account into the city uh, budget, right, into the city account. And they owe now Joburg Water about 5 billion rand. And we don't think we're going to get that money back. But that would have been a good start to actually have it ring fenced and start doing what Joburg Water needs to be doing.
Yeah, 5 billion rand in the coffers would go a very long way in at least alleviating some of the challenges facing the country, at least the city of Johannesburg, with regards to water management. I mean, you're an activist. What do you think is the biggest challenge with regards to water insecurity in in the city? Do you think it's more a case of infrastructure maintenance, too much demand on some of the pipes, overpopulation? A mismanagement of funds, perhaps even a combination of all?
I think it's a combination of all. I think South Africa's water crisis can be described as a poly crisis. So there's lots of things that make up this crisis. So you've touched on some of them: mismanagement, corruption, not spending enough on infrastructure, not having the right skills, climate change. And all of that kind of compounds the issues that we're facing. They each make the crisis harder to overcome, but they're all important parts of this pie.
Going forward, what would you think is the best way for us, at least as the city of Johannesburg, to continue going forward? What do you think the government should do?
Yes, I've been thinking about it a lot, because one of the questions that I've been getting in the last while is the action plan going to solve our water issues? And the reality is, no, it's not, because what it does as the action plan, it's still using the same old thinking of government must talk to each other and they must have another committee and they must come up with a document and they will solve it. The reality is that there are groups across the country, civil society groups, they need to start talking to unions. They need to start talking to all people around to actually start solving some of the issues around water and sanitation. They need to bring in, as the action plan completely focuses on bringing the private sector in. So they want to get private sector in, get the money from private sector. They need, everything was about getting private sector to fix. The challenge is they're missing a big chunk of society. And without that, this action plan does not speak to the people that are most affected by the water challenges that we have. So I think that you need to have a very a multi-group. You need to have all people involved in working on finding proper solutions around our water and sanitation. And it cannot be that the same. And also, by the way, the action plan talks about all of this investment for water. It talks about bringing in private sector. It ignores the systemic issue that our municipalities are failing politically, financially. They are not doing what they need to do. So if you just do this on the water side and ignore the fact that you need to bring the municipalities along with you, you are still going to end up in the same situation come down the line. It might just be on roads, it might be on electricity. And that is something that I think this plan, it forgets. It's quite myopic in its view. And so I think that is a problem. But I do think that if we bring everybody together and actually listen, that there are some good solutions out there, that civil society can be doing stuff. We're already doing some of the co-governance in terms of water and managing water leaks, etc. Continue doing that, build those relationships. But I think that the senior level government people have not shown leadership, and they're not willing to actually do that.
It's 15 minutes to 8 p.m. here, Central African time on Salam Media. You are tuned into Local Matters with myself, Ahmed Kaji. We are speaking to Dr. Ferrial Adam regarding the water crisis currently taking place in Johannesburg. We are going to be taking a short break. When we come back, we'll be wrapping up that conversation with Dr. Ferrial and then returning to our conversation with Mr. James Opane from the IEC regarding the local government elections. Please stay tuned here to Salam Media.
Searching for elite local and international investment and advisory services from an award-winning firm? Look no further than the Belmont Mayer Group, your gateway to unparalleled investment and wealth management. At Belmont Mayer, we believe in the art of wealth creation, a meticulous process fueled by our unwavering commitment to excellence. With a focus on providing elite alternative investments and quality advice, we also pride ourselves on maximizing value for our esteemed investors, as seen through our consistent outperformance. Your financial success is our top priority. Join us at Belmont Mayer and experience the difference firsthand. Ready to embark on a journey of greatness? Contact us today. Reach out to the Belmont Mayer Group on 078 786 1698. Call or WhatsApp or email us at info@belmontmayer.com. Elevate your financial future with Belmont Mayer, where every detail matters.
When you give water, you bring life to drought-affected communities, providing fresh water for drinking, cleaning, and growing. Your support helps Islamic Relief implement water, sanitation, and hygiene projects, providing clean water to communities around the world. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities, conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities. Your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Tonight, a child in a shack will try to sleep through the cold. No heating, no insulation, just thin walls and a biting cold. African Muslims Agency is on the ground, reaching families in informal settlements across South Africa with blankets and winter essentials. Help us spread warmth this winter. For 180 Rand, give a blanket. For 360 Rand, a full winter pack. One gift, one less night in the cold. Africa Muslims Agency. Empowering, educating, inspiring.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media, your humanitarian broadcaster. Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back here to Salam Media's show here, Local Matters, with myself, Ahmed Kaji. We are continuing our conversation around the water crisis here in Johannesburg, across the country, and then we'll be trying to get Mr. James Apane from the IEC back on the line to just take us through what has been taking place regarding the voter registration. And then also, in a few moments' time, the Emerential Residents Association, that conversation will be coming up also in just a few moments' time as well. Dr. Adam, we were continuing our conversation around the water crisis facing the city of Johannesburg. Take us through what role, perhaps, you think the private sector has with regards to taking on some of these challenges.
I think that they need to be taken in as a partner in terms of not selling off our water supplies and our water, services, but there needs to be a real partnership in terms of how we actually move forward. So I think that there can be solutions, there can be innovative ideas, and we're seeing that. We're seeing some of that. It's not about saying, well, we've caused this problem. Here you go, you fix it now. I think that is what government is trying to do with the action plan. And I think that is opening the door to failure.
I mean, there's also issues around desalination, or at least options around desalination. Do you think that may be an option worth looking at? There's also grey water, which is proposed to be used at least for sanitation, at least within the sewage system. Are those any options which may be viable?
So I think that we have to start looking in terms of reusing and recycling our water. The fact that we still flush clean drinking water down the toilet is actually doesn't make sense in a country which describes itself as a water scarce country, right? So we need to definitely look at those options. And in terms of, you talked about reusing, recycling, we need to look at rainwater harvesting. And I think that is an important part. Any new developments, any new estates that come up needs to have these kind of things in place so that they don't actually rely fully on just using clean water for everything. We cannot keep doing that. On your question, on your point of desalination, I think that we see that there's two issues. One is desalination is quite expensive, and it can work in some parts for normal for water supply, but it uses a lot of energy and it's quite expensive. And even if you look at the Western Cape, it takes a long time to actually establish the desalination plants. So I think that until we get to that point, we need to look at what we can do in the now. And some of those other things like recycling, reusing it's much easier, it's much cost effective. It's also something that people can do across the country. Everywhere you can do that. The other challenge with desalination is that, and as an environmental activist, I do question some of the environmental impacts that they have.
I mean, you spoke about those important factors which need to also be taken into consideration. I guess the city of Johannesburg in the urban areas may have many solutions, but that may not always be the case in rural areas or perhaps even in townships.
No, for sure. I mean, in the action plan, you would see that there are 2,688 unserved communities in terms of water and sanitation. That means they have no access to any infrastructure. That is a lot that we have across the country. And so we need to be looking at other solutions. And for those communities in particular, I think that boreholes could act as some relief. It shouldn't be what we're seeing in Johannesburg, where every house is dropping a borehole. But I think when you're looking at those areas where you can drop a borehole and you can then from that borehole get water to different households, that is a sustainable solution that can work. So I do think we need to look much more in terms of people that don't have. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Limpopo, and you meet people who are 23, 24 years old who have never had water come out of a tap. That is the level of inequality and lack of access that runs throughout South Africa.
All right, very interesting notes. Just in terms of two questions before we wrap up, and rather briefly, I'd ask you for that. What do you think would be, firstly, perhaps a message to residents of the country regarding the water crisis? And then, I guess, firstly, the main concern is around whether borehole water can affect groundwater and overall supply on a long-term basis. Perhaps your thoughts on those two, please?
Okay, so on the first one, I think that I think people need to become more water aware, and it's about whether it's polluted or not. We need to raise those alarms. I think a lot of people have lost hope, so they don't let us know that their water is actually completely polluted or the toilets are totally damaged that government provides. So we need to keep hearing about that. People need to keep fighting on those issues. In terms of borehole water, you're right. It's, we have a water cycle. And when we have times of high rainfall, we will replenish the supply. That is how the system works. But not if we have a lot of concretizing of our streets, our yards, everything. We need to be able to allow water to feed back into the ground. But it is also a source, water is also directly impacted by climate change. So climate change, the way we will experience it is through water mostly, whether it's a drought or a flood. And both of that will directly impact groundwater. It will impact groundwater quality. It will impact the drying off of boreholes. And we're seeing that already in some parts of the country. Also, borehole water is not it's not constant. It's not the same everywhere. It's not consistent, sorry. So you'll have some areas where you'll have heavy metals in them. Some you'll have salt. You can't drink it. So it's also about depending where you are. It's not across the board, across the country, that all borehole water is going to be fine. So you have to look at all of those issues as well. But yes, I do think that we're going into a super El Nino. And what we're seeing with climate change is that these weather events are becoming more frequent and they're happening much faster. So it doesn't allow the system to recover. And so that would deplete your borehole water resources.
Dr. Ferrial Adam, thanks very much for your time this evening. We greatly appreciate it. And I'm sure we will be maintaining frequent contact given the water situation coming across the country. We'd just like to thank you for your time this evening. And inshallah, until the next conversation takes place.
Jazakallah. Thank you so much, Ahmed.
That was Dr. Ferrial Adam from WaterCAN taking us through her thoughts on the current water issues facing the city of Johannesburg, as well as perhaps the rest of the country as well. And yeah, it is now just 2 minutes to 8 p.m. and it seems that the tech gremlins rather have happened to have run away, and thankfully that also means that we can get to the IEC back online as well. Mr. James Apani was taking us through a massive explanation on what we had seen with regards to voter registration. Our conversation actually took a break when we had spoken about the fact that 46% of all new registrations were from voters under 29. So that's new registrations between 16 to 29 years old was just under 500,000 voter registrations as well. We spoke about the WhatsApp voter registration taking place as well. And I guess the first important we need to perhaps bring into the conversation, Mr. Pane, is perhaps what's next from here. We have had voter registration wrapping up. There will be again the complete wrapping up by Friday the 7th. Where to from there?